Okay, and we are recording. Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Drift, with the Indica Show, and today I have a very special guest, Patrick, Patrick Beck from Kingpin Glass. You might know him from Boss Glass previously. How you doing, Patrick?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm excellent. I'm actually a big fan. I've been a fan of your art and your glass for a long time. I remember seeing you pop up in my stream almost 2 years ago. I know you've been involved in blowing glass for longer than that, but that's just when I first saw you. Um,
Yeah,
could you tell us maybe a little bit about yourself and how you got into blowing glass?
yeah, definitely. um, Glass has been in my family for a long time. And I got into glass because when I was a kid, my family used to give me a bunch of glass stuff from their travels around the world. Um, and things like dragons and marbles, and I just absolutely loved it as a kid. And so, as I got older, I just kind of found my way into glass blowing because I was going to school for chemistry and engineering, as well as like photonics and electrical, computer engineering, as well as welding and art and drawing. I did just about everything, and um, glass blowing just naturally came into my path because I was about to start a job as a welder. But then I found out about lamp working, and I've always been a salesperson ever since I was a kid. When I was 7, I started my own business selling candy at school, and I was able to buy my first guitar with the money that I made from all the football games and basketball games because I knew everyone. So, um, yeah,
Kind of
then
cornered the
I just
market.
yeah, I really loved working with fire, and when I started oxyacetylene welding, and then I joined let's see, I believe it was the Melting Pot forums online, because this was like 12 years ago. This was before Facebook even existed, or Facebook had just barely started up
It
actually.
just wasn't real mainstream yet.
Yeah, MySpace was still the big thing back then, and so it's kind of looking back, it kind of makes me feel old now,
Yeah.
but um, so then I picked that up, and naturally I just found my path doing that, and then I started traveling and doing all kinds of other stuff, and I went to college and started working on chemical engineering, but it was extremely rough, and so then I started taking classes with a bunch of famous celebrities and rock stars, and then I took a bunch of classes from a bunch of famous artists,
Like
and
glass blowing lessons?
yeah,
Cool.
like I started in a place called Studio Broadway, where actually a lot of this glass scene got started way back in the day. We're talking about 30 years ago now, almost. Well, actually, maybe not that long. I'd say about 25 years ago now, maybe. Um, and like a lot of it started with Lewis Wilson, Celine Peralta, um, and they got a magazine. Shoot, I'm having trouble thinking of the name of the magazine. It's one of the main publications that are out there for glass lamp working. And one of the first publications had to do with Studio Broadway, um, because they were just getting the scene started up. And so that was after Bob Snodgrass, but this was like when it actually started picking up. So, um, they used the magazines to get their publications out there, and it really started spreading from that. So there's quite a bit of history from the people that I learned from, because like Deline Peralta worked out of there, and then Road Dogg had taught them a bunch of stuff, and he was one of the people I don't know exactly the story. I'd have to talk to Troutman a little more about this side of the story.
For sure. Well, I
But
mean, we can always maybe add that in later in the comments or something.
yeah, there's a lot to that whole scene, and so being able to trace it back and actually know the people that started it, I think is really cool.
Can I ask, do you have a favorite glass artist yourself?
Um, Currently I don't have a favorite anymore, but I've had a lot of inspirations along the way. Like
Yeah, I feel that
banjo.
our interests are always changing.
Yeah, like banjo, salt, Sheen, Nady, like all those guys, Darby Holmes, um, Laceface. I still really look up to Laceface and the work that she does. And she was a huge inspiration for me back in the AGE days. And it's been quite an experience and a journey because I've seen this industry change multiple times. It's just the ebb and flow of a lot of different things going on.
I don't even know really any glass artist besides you, that I've like followed consistently. Maybe besides, I think, Hetty Hawaii or something like that. Um,
Oh yeah,
do you have a favorite glass piece that you've blown yourself?
yeah. There's a couple of them. The Venom
Yeah.
was definitely his favorite, and same as the Carnage because that's where I really started getting famous. And I put a lot of work into those pieces.
I'm
I
checking
had
that
just
out
taken
right
a
now. It's
class.
so beautiful.
Yeah, thanks so much. And let's see, I had just taken a class with banjo and salt after I had broken two of my fingers actually from moving an oxygen tank. And then after my fingers healed, I was gonna go work with Dale Chihuly and Jerome Baker, and well, Jason Harris, who owns that company, because had this big bong thing that he was making, and so I had it all scheduled to go out to Seattle and be a part of that film, but I broke my leg skateboarding the night before. So, right after that is
Ow.
when I made the Venom piece, and I had been planning that piece for about 8 years actually, just in the back of my mind, and that really got things kick started for me. Because before that, I was, you know, traveling. I was wholesaling and distributing for all of the glass artists in New Mexico,
No way.
and I was starting. Huh?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So I was starting to expand on that, and then I took some. I worked with some Italian glass makers in Murano, the Ballarin family, and they taught me some really cool stuff just from me watching. I was there for about a week with them, and they were really, really awesome. They were really, they're like, they basically are family to me now, and so they're really welcoming. At first, they weren't so welcoming, but when they got to know me, they really took me in and were really nice and, just really humble. And so I learned how to make some goblets from them. And so one of my other favorite pieces is these goblets that I learned how to make from them, because they have won me a couple of awards and got allowed me to be able to travel the world uh, while having these foreign embassies and governments pay for it. So that really opened the doors for me in the professional art museum world.
Oh, no way. I'm checking out
Yeah,
the,
and
it looks like some sort of fairy or something that's, head is like the glass piece.
yeah, that one I made in Spain, and that was right before I went to Murano and took the class with them. And I had just traveled through 35 different states in 6 months, and then
Oh,
I
man.
went to Europe, and I traveled around Europe all through the glass scene. So it was really a wonderful experience.
They look amazing.
Thank
Uh,
you.
yeah, of course, you're welcome. Uh,
Yeah, I think that one's it's in a gallery in Switzerland.
the clear one or the black and red one?
Both of them.
Oh, cool.
The clear one is actually a UV one. It's made with UV blue when it first came out.
Uh, how much would it cost to have you make one of those? How much?
It
Well, I guess it
depends.
depends on how much time you put into it. How much time did that take you?
Yeah, that one took me a couple of days, and I think I just gave it to him because the guy had paid for my trip basically.
Yeah,
So he
that's
spent
thoughtful.
well over, $2,000 just on having my company there, and so in exchange I just made him some really nice glass, and we had a blast. It was awesome.
I bet he loved
So
it.
yeah, yeah, but I mean, I I'd say my goblets can range anywhere from as low as $100 to as much as 10 grand and up even, in the
That makes
future.
sense.
Yeah, in the future they might be worth even more, as
Especially
time
as,
goes on.
yeah, yeah. The more you get your brand out there.
Yeah,
Although, I
yeah,
mean,
like
you're pretty reputable already. I mean, I already know a lot of people. Well, I mean, a lot of strangers I met know about you. People in the industry know about you. Uh, I'm actually,
yeah, it's good and it's bad. It's like a double-edged sword because I'm under a lot of scrutiny all the time,
yeah,
and
and everything you
um,
say affects your followers a lot more than you think, unfortunately.
right, and sometimes I don't realize that because sometimes it's like a lot of people saying some really nasty, mean things to me, and then after like a couple of months of me putting it, well, it's been a couple of years now, but sometimes it just gets to where I'm like, I don't want to deal with these people anymore.
Yeah,
And because I don't know where they're coming from. I don't know if they're coming from a hateful spot. I don't know who they are, and they act like they know me and
and
they say
it's
some
hard to not
mean
read
things.
those types of comments because sometimes they're just so directed.
Yeah, and I know like a lot of it stems from this one thing that's just been super annoying for me because I've been trying to get rid of that hate, and
Yeah,
just these false accusations, and that other people got jealous of me, and so that's where it's the double-edged sword because like I have a lot of fans who really love me, really look up to me, and really care, but then I have a lot of people that are really jealous, and even if I try to help those people, it just makes them more upset, and then they just start attacking me, and so
haters gonna
sometimes I just
hate,
have to
man.
block them,
Yeah,
and then it makes it worse because then they go out and they tell all these people all these hateful made up things, and then
just
they
keep
try to come
spreading
up
it.
with worse things.
I
So it's
think
like
hate
I
is
don't.
a virus.
Yeah, like I just don't know how to help them, because like I want to see these people succeed, and a lot of them are glass blowers, but they don't see that side of things for some reason, and that was what I was trained and taught to believe, is to stay humble, help other people succeed, and enjoy life. And I want that for other people, but for some reason, some people just don't see that side of things.
Uh, I guess let's start trying to talk about perhaps like your trips. I know
Yeah,
recently you just went to where was it? Uh,
Dubai.
Dubai.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah. So
checking your post out from a week ago, and oh man, I can feel what you must have felt walking through these giant places. That's magnificent and so beautiful, and I just hope you had a really good time there.
yeah, it was awesome. It was a lot of work though, because I wanted to see everything in a short amount of time. And with the COVID, it kind of makes traveling a pain in the rear
Yeah.
sometimes. But it was a really fun trip. I'm really lucky to have been able to even go and do something like that.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
and
Uh,
like I had a plan to go to Dubai a couple years ago for New Year's Eve because somebody invited me to go celebrate out there. But I ended up not being able to afford it, so I canceled the trip. And it's good that I was able to go because that was somewhere that I had really wanted to go. And it just kind of worked out to where I was able to pull it off.
is there like a
And
favorite part of your trip?
yeah, well, I think the whole part was awesome because
Yeah.
the people out there were really nice. I picked up a new position out there as an ambassador for the Hilton. In fact, that was the first thing that they did with me. And so now I can offer these experiences to other people at discounted rates. And then from there, they made it possible so that I could go out and see just about everything. There's some stuff I didn't see because I ended up going to Abu Dhabi, and unfortunately, the Ferrari, um, what is it? Ferrari Land was closed, and I think it was like a Friday or something, because things are a little different out there. Like their banks aren't closed on the weekends, but they're closed during the 2 days in the week, and so
That's pretty weird.
you know,
Well, different rather,
yeah.
excuse me.
Yeah, well, and like you can't eat out in public during the day, and you can't drink in the public during the day. There's very pretty much no alcohol there except for at some of the resorts, and and they're a really clean society
Yeah, that's
with
pretty
very
smart.
little crime. So it was actually a really enjoyable experience because I got to really step outside of you know, the cultural norms out here in the U.S. Uh, and it really gave me a different worldview. But what really amazed me was the huge structures out there because Dubai is a relatively new place, and they have such huge, massive structures out there. It just blew me away because I've been all over the world, and I've seen all of these different things, but it was nothing compared to this.
Did you get
Because
to
it
go
was just,
the did you get to go to the top of any of those really tall buildings there?
yeah, yeah. I got to go to the top of the Burj Khalifa, which is the tallest
Ooh,
building in the world.
holy crap.
Um, and it's attached to their mall, and their mall is the biggest mall in the whole entire world. And it's so massive. Like, I spent probably about 2 or 3 days just looking at it, and because it was so huge, and I kept getting lost. and and then their other mall, the one that they consider to be a small mall, has a whole entire indoor ski resort in it, and
Holy
so
crap.
I was able to see that as well. Um, but it just blew me away. I'd never seen anything like what they have out there. And just the buildings and the way that they go about everything, it was really significant. And being at the top of the Burj Khalifa was like a dream come true because like I love architecture. I love studying buildings and art and going to the top of these buildings and all these cities that I've gone to all over the world. But at the top of the Burj Khalifa, it was just magnificent. It was,
Have you heard of the
you know,
overview effect? It,
um,
it's what the astronauts
maybe.
get when they look back on Earth when they're in space.
Oh no, no, I haven't heard of that yet.
But you kind of get that feeling. I think when you get to overlook vast amounts of land, not quite the same, but to a pretty decent degree. Did it feel kind of just life changing looking out from that building?
Yeah, it completely changed my perspective because um, I got to see how they built it, and like I've got so many different ideas and different projects that I've been working on, and one of those projects was to create a building that can be infinitely expanded upon, and
A modular
so
building.
that's yeah, like infinite. Well, I called it an infinite temple, but it was just a concept to me that I sent to a couple of people and family members and friends of mine. But actually going to Dubai made me realize that it could actually happen, and that I was closer to actually making that a reality than I thought. And
Yeah, there's so many
um,
new technologies coming out to make pretty much, sky's the limit on what you can imagine.
yeah, yeah, and so like one of the other things that I was also invited to do is go to outer space with the Dear Moon project, because of my invention with the warp speed formula that I just recently patented, and it was actually used in an operation that I also created called Operation Warp Speed, and that was the whole reason that we have a vaccination available right now, because I created a formula and a plan that I put out there. I have a lot of family members who are in high places in the government, so I came up with this solution a couple of years ago before COVID happened, and then in 2019, right after I invented it, the COVID virus started to spread, and they used my formula in this operation that I told my family about in order to create a vaccine. And it actually, the whole idea behind my formula was to make things happen faster and to work as a worldwide community to solve world crises. And I came up with that in February of 2019. And then COVID started to spread in November of 2019. And it got really bad in March of 2020. But luckily enough, I had the right people involved, and they believed in me because they know how much schooling I went through. And, some of my family members, they're extremely intelligent scientists. And so I gave this formula to them to test it. And it worked, because the whole Operation Warp Speed, Donald Trump picked that up. And like you can look this up online, but they didn't really put my name behind it because I hadn't patented it yet. And so now that I have the patent pending, we're starting to put that out there a little bit more. That my involvement in this process and everything that I did behind the scenes, as well as what my family was able to help accomplish. And since I travel the world as an ambassador, because my grandfather and my great great grandfather were ambassadors,
Oh, no way.
and
That's
so
pretty cool.
yeah, so they're training me to do the same, and it takes a lot of work. I mean, I've been in college for 14 years, and I took like 2 or 3 years off to travel the world. So I kind of naturally just was forced into that position.
Yeah.
And that's just how my family does those things. Like military operations, because my great grandfather was a colonel in the Marine Corps, and he fought in World War II through Guatemala Bay and pretty much every war in between, and he was in command of a lot of that stuff. So, they set these things up way before I was even born. And like it gives me the opportunity to find my natural path, but
Yeah.
yeah, so they kind of forced my hand and forced me into college. They were like, you have no choice, you're going to school. And so,
Hey,
but
man,
on the
knowledge is
side,
power, right?
yeah, and on the side I like making glass, and that was my decision. But it's also a family heritage thing. And so
Oh, yeah, you definitely
you
got to
know
keep that tradition going.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a lot of traditions, that I have to be a part of, from,
Yeah.
music to art to studying school to chemistry and psychology. I mean, I've done all of that stuff, and um, so yeah, it's a really important thing, and I think one of the problems is that I've been trying to put that out there, but for some reason, the community that I've been established in, a lot of them didn't take it seriously, but then some of them who actually, read about it and looked into it were like, wow, this is so neat and so fascinating. I want to hear more about it. So, you know,
Yeah.
um, but then a lot of rumors end up getting spread, and it's kind of hard to combat that online.
Yeah. Gotta sift through the good and the bad, and if the people aren't telling you themselves what's going on, there's no way for them to actually know the truth unless they're directly involved. And unfortunately, or
Yeah,
more fortunately, it's none of their business, but people just want to put it out there. Um,
yeah. Well,
I did.
and they want to know, and at first it started as a curiosity thing, but then they were like, oh well, I want some proof, and then I put the proof out there, and those people realize the truth behind it. But then the new people that come along are like, wait, this guy's crazy. What's going on here? And then I have to, I almost have to find a way that I can create a path so that anybody who comes in to the story to try to know what's going on because they overheard something or saw it online or whatever, I need to create a path for them where they can journey through it and really see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And I think that might help because the randomness of social media these days, it's not like, if someone just walks into the middle of a story, they're not going to know what's going on. And most of them aren't going to take the time to look back. So, one of the things that we have also been working on is a documentary. So,
No way.
but it takes time, it really takes time, and I kind of over advertise just about everything. So then a large amount of people get involved, and I get
Yeah.
stuck trying to, explain it to them.
I do. I don't mean to interrupt. I do have a couple more questions because you do try to keep
Yeah.
the like a little bit of a time constraint on it. We're doing good though. Uh, would you have considered your recent trip to be kind of like a walkabout for you, just to help you find yourself, or was it business?
It was a little of both. Um, it was like more so that I could learn about the culture and really have the experience. Because I'm really fascinated by other cultures, and so that was half of the trip and half of why I decided to go. Another part was because there were a lot of people who were trying to make me out to be something I'm not. So I was like, well, I could just go to Dubai and prove them all wrong. And then there's another section of it that was definitely business with I became an ambassador for the Hilton, and I got a contract with them. And then I was also looking for investors to invest in my work speed project, as well as I went to try to meet the Sheikh, basically the
Oh,
president of the
yeah.
UAE, and he's in charge of over almost $1 trillion in assets. And so I was looking for some financial backing to possibly bring my solutions to their country and ask them about building these different kinds of structures. So there's a, a little bit of everything involved in that, because then that starts getting mixed into politics and world economics and stuff like that. So, but I kind of just do a mix of everything. I study the architecture, I study the art, I study the culture, I get involved with the community, I learn about what's going on, how things got built, and religion. I got to see the Grand Mosque out there, so that was another big part of it,
Yeah.
because my family actually built that, and so there's a lot going on there.
I I've always wanted to go out there. I'm very jealous. I wish I could have gone with you, but I'm glad that, you had a good time and you were able to kind of find yourself a bit. Um, do you have any more trips coming up, or maybe like any just like collaborations business wise for Kingpin Glass?
Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff lined up actually. So for Kingpin Glass, I've got a couple of celebrities that want to collaborate. Then on the ambassador side thing, I have a lot of businesses that want to collaborate with me that are offering me free products, and they want to represent my brand. Then I've got music partnerships lined up. They're kind of all rolled into one thing, but I try to separate them. It's kind of impossible to. I've got quite a bit of different things lined up right now.
Would there be maybe any partners or sponsors that you'd like to give a shout out to, or just anyone in general you want to give a shout out to?
Yeah, High Key Clout. They are looking to work with me. Interscope Records is looking to work with me. Ty Lopez has been a really big mentor. Gary Vaynerchuk, or Gary V, has been a good mentor. Dean Aguilar. Who else? There's so many people involved right now. I don't even know where to begin. I'm looking to collaborate with a couple more people in the industry, like Jerome Baker Designs and Jason Harris, as well as Steve Bates. So there's quite a few people involved here, and
I'm sure they
like,
appreciate the shout out. Would please make sure to maybe, at least share this with them so that they can hear your shout out, of course.
yeah,
I did have a segment that we normally do on the show, uh, where we
yeah,
go ahead and smoke. Just take a toke,
yeah,
and then while we're smoking, go ahead and just talk about anything that you want to talk about for the next 5 minutes that you think the people should know about you and what's going on with just everything with Kingpin Glass.
yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, so let's see.
I guess
The big
first, could we start
thing,
off with what are you smoking today?
yeah, I was just got some bud that my friend gave me, but I've actually been cutting back quite a bit on smoking ever since I went to Dubai because
That's healthy.
yeah, well, and I noticed that, like, with all of this stuff that I've got going on, smoking kind of gets in the way because it makes it a little more difficult for me to handle all of these people,
Yeah,
and so I noticed that when I was in Dubai, it was really easy for me to kind of handle that, but
just having a clear
things,
mind. People,
yeah, things do still
don't
get
think
out of
about it
hand.
like this, but I mean, consider it as if you're drinking, I mean, that's how people who are sober and don't smoke or don't drink look at it is you're intoxicated, whether you think of it that way or not. And it does ultimately, it does, affect your chemical levels in your brain, um,
Yeah,
such as,
it affects your
serotonin.
emotions,
Yeah,
your serotonin levels, uh, dopamine, all of that stuff plays a role in how you respond and react. And so I think that's, you know, one of the things that I've noticed. But at the same time, it helps me go to sleep. It helps me kind of, get through some tough times for sure. But, it's also not good to use it as a crutch. So,
exactly. It can
but
be a tool to help you improve yourself, but at the same time, it can hinder your abilities to socialize, and it hinders your performance as far as business, at least when you're
Yeah,
intoxicated trying to do business.
exactly. So I've been just smoking joints lately. Well, and it's just some stuff that my friend gave me, so it's not even all that high quality. But I went from
As
like
long as it's
smoking
grown
high,
well, that's what matters.
yeah, like I was going for like high grade, but the problem with that is then sometimes I get to a point where nothing gets done or resolved,
Yeah,
and so
sure, you feel good, but then there's like so much potential being missed, so much potential money being left out of the equation.
yeah, exactly. Or like I notice when I'm more motivated to get stuff done, and but at the same time, I think all things in moderation is really key.
Mm-hmm.
Not to overdo it with anything. So yeah, and then there's like the other big thing is with Nice Whitehopper and everything that happened there, and like it's like I don't even know where to begin with that whole story.
Well, you
Um,
got like 5 minutes to talk about it. Excuse me, I'm recovering
yeah,
from a hit. You got like 5 minutes to talk about it. And I just want to say I don't know too much about the topic or the subject, and
yeah,
I have no true opinion. I don't know anything as far as what's going on with this subject. That being said, I'm totally open to whatever you have to say about the subject.
yeah, and so basically, it's actually a really interesting thing that happened here because in 2019, after I came up with that invention, and I told some of my family members who worked at the Department of Defense and for the Los Alamos Labs, and
What labs?
it got what's that?
What labs?
Oh, Los Alamos Labs.
Okay, got you.
Yeah, and so like all of my family has worked for them, and so when I came up with this invention, a lot of things happened. I started coming up with a lot of different inventions, and I got a lot of people involved. And one of those inventions, I was telling Shark Tank about this, and I went
Oh,
out
you're on
and I
Shark Tank?
tested it. I might end up going. I just submitted for a review
Okay.
some of my business articles, and they're gonna help me look for investors. So we're gonna. It's still in the works. It's I gotta get the business side of things handled first, and get the investor to actually start the actual business. But I already have the invention
Yeah,
patented, so
that's the key
I've got
part.
things. Yeah, you got to take all the steps to do it, and it takes a lot of work. But um, so I started that whole campaign process in 2019 in about February, and I started coming up with a lot of different inventions actually because I was about to join the Marine Corps because I promised my great grandfather that I would, but then somebody in the Marines saw my active involvement in politics and solutions for the government, and that I've been traveling and all the things that I've done. And he told me that he had read about my great grandfather in his history books for his officer training, and that he was in the Marines. So I talked to him for a little bit on Facebook, and then he was like, "Well, I don't think you should join the Marines. I think you should run for president." And then I remembered when I was a kid that that's what my great grandfather had wanted me to do because he was the colonel of the Marine Corps, and so he was directly underneath the president himself. And so, he worked on some really important stuff, but he worked with multiple presidents because presidents only have terms for 4 years. He was an actual colonel, and he was there for at least 35 years, I believe. So, if not longer, actually, I think he's in there for longer because
That sounds,
he was hardcore to the bone.
yeah, that
So,
sounds like some serious dedication there.
yeah, he was hardcore. He started in the Marines when he was 16, and right after Pearl Harbor, he got bombed, and he joined World War II, just 16, fresh off the boat. Went for it, and he stuck in until the 1990s at least. So that's at least 35 years. Well, that's way more than 35 years. So, and he passed away in 2006, and he's still technically part of that even then. And so he passed that down to me on his deathbed, and so it was really important to me. And so I started telling people I was going to join the Marines, but this Marine nominated me to run for president. And so then I had just come up with some inventions, and a lot of stuff happened really quickly. So one of the inventions that I came up with was an AI technology to find your best mate using social media based off of just everything that you've done, who you are, and to automate the process so that way you can get married online without having to even really think about it. And so that was my whole idea behind this artificial intelligence program. My family was involved in the creating of Instagram in Los Alamos, and they sold it actually, but they invented it. And so, I told my family members about it. My uncle, he's got a PhD in psychology, well, in neuroscience actually, and he's a computer programmer who works for Google. So he was able to actually develop this, and develop this software, because I told them all that that's how I wanted to get married, that I didn't want to have to think about it because, like, I knew I was getting famous, and I knew there's just not going to be enough time for me to actually
Sift through
really
who's
do
really
that.
interested and who's not.
Yeah, it's such a difficult thing to determine when you have so many followers and so many people involved.
Yeah.
So I
Just to let you
started
know, we only have a
testing this.
few more minutes here.
Okay, yeah. So I started testing this, and then February 4th of this year, I came across Nisa's profile. I had been joking with her and advertising my presidency on her profile, and she was playing back. She was posting about it, incognito, like subliminal things and stuff like that were like really directed at the whole president thing that I had started. Even the fact that I'm the youngest person to ever run for president. And when I noticed all these things that she was involved in already, I was like, wow, she must be a part of this team and this campaign. She must know a lot more about me than I think. And so when I realized that, I was just blown away. And I had been joking with Steve-O online. I tagged Steve-O in one of her posts saying that he should get married to her as a joke, because I had a crush on her, but I didn't really know her at all. And I wasn't all that interested back then. And that was about a year ago. So then I go back to her profile. I see all this stuff's happening. I comment on one of her posts. She replies back commenting about my glass dragons, and the whole thread went viral. Next thing I know, there's 700 comments on this thread of just my reply to her post, and it was out of hand. It got so crazy that they deleted the picture and the video that she had posted. But at one part, this guy was messing with me, and I found out that he was an ordained minister, and then I looked up Nice online, and I found out that she'd been born only 4 days before me, and then I found out that she was related to Archduke Franz Ferdinand, and I Googled her, and the first thing I saw was some guy picking on her, saying that no one would ever marry her, and then I see and find out all this stuff about her because I'm also from a royal lineage, and according to the books I've read and the scriptures, I'm only supposed to marry one person who's the closest to the throne. And Franz Ferdinand is the Archduke who got assassinated in the start of World War I. And my family was involved in World War II because September 1st, which is also my birthday, um, Greece got attacked by Italy, and it started the whole war because uh, the Greece, like, we lost our throne because I'm also from the Griego lineage, and Griego literally means of Greece, and so my family was responsible for a lot of things going on. So that's, my dad is in charge of Los Alamos Labs and the nuclear facilities, and so um, I have a really deep connection with that. And so when I found out that she did too, because she's related to Franz Ferdinand, and all of it lined up, even that she was born 4 days before me, and then she started flirting with me online and posting
Are
things
you like
saying like,
actually, are you guys like actually married?
technically, yeah. So it was so crazy because that ordained minister is newly ordained, and I jokingly was like, after I read that, and I saw all this stuff about her online, I just was like, I fell in love instantly. I was like, well, if all of this lines up, I've been looking into this for the past 3 years, and that's how I got really, really famous, is because of the royal lineage part and everything else. Because I'm technically, like, my great grandfather used to call me the Duke of Albuquerque, because had democracy not of overruled the monarchy, I would technically be the landowner of New Mexico, and I have proof of that. I have the documents from 1889, because my great great grandfather was Don Juan Carlos Griego, who established everything, and he brought billions of dollars worth of silver to establish New Mexico. But the USA took it over, and so my great grandfather was a history major, and he called me the Duke of Albuquerque because technically I still am. Um, and
So,
so
I'm sorry, we're really short on time here. Just one last question about that. So, did you meet her like you said you met her through your app?
Yeah, just on Instagram. And
Oh,
when I
okay.
realized all of that, I told the ordained minister to marry us right then and there. And I asked one of her celebrity friends, well, I asked two of them to ask her to marry me. And she made a post about it saying, like, oh, make a wish with a Dragon Ball in her hand. And then um, I had this girl ask her to marry me. Then I told everyone, and I found out that according to Texas laws, that legally means that we're married. I didn't even really know
All right. I
that
don't
at
know
first.
too much about anything legal, just for the record. So I'm just
Yeah,
letting him, talk about his life, just for the
but
record.
so that's how all of that happened. And so then she made a post about the whole World War II thing, even, and that's what got me hooked after that. But then a lot of people got jealous and started getting in the way. So um,
I'm
now
sorry
it's
that there's
just,
so much negativity going on around the subject, man, and I hope people just leave you alone. But
yeah, I don't think that's gonna happen. But I'm not gonna stop, because after that point, I was like, wow, I can't believe that I'm that closely connected to somebody, and she is, like, basically just a state away from me. And then, but the problem is that she's extremely famous, and so that's,
gotcha.
it's not a problem. It's just more of a hurdle. Like, you know, that's the way I look at it. Like, I got to navigate this huge maze of 4 million people, and win them all over somehow. So
I'm just
that's kind
someone
of how
from
I view it.
outside. I don't even know, and like, I definitely respect and appreciate you as a person and your art. Um,
Thanks.
the only thing I might have to say, and like take this however you might, I think, uh, if you just stop posting about her, people will just stop being mean about it. For real. I
Yeah, well, and I try that, but then the people who want to see it happen are like, hey, what happened to that girl? Like, shouldn't she be posting about her? Hey, what's the story behind that?
Is it
Hey,
even any
what's
of their
going on with this?
business, though?
And
You
they just
know?
never stop. So it's like, if I don't post about it, then people don't leave me alone about it. And then when I do post about it, other people get jealous and mad. So I don't know. I mean, I can't please everyone,
You
but
gotta
I'm
just
just gonna
ignore
do
them,
what
and
makes me
honestly,
happy.
yeah, I feel that for sure. You know, you gotta be your number one priority, especially since it's your company. Don't let them make you feel any type of way if just be true to yourself, and that's the number one thing. And as long as you are, then you'll always be able to be happy no matter what the fuck they say.
Yeah,
That being
and
said, like, would you like to take one last hit with me before I do my closing statements here?
sure, man.
Heck
Of
yeah.
course. I got another paper right here.
I'm dabbing out of the G Pen Connect with my new THCA diamonds. I just got it from the Sky Pressure Packs.
Oh, nice. Yeah, you got way better than what I got, but I've been kind of weaning myself
Yeah.
off here. Yeah. Um, but yeah, I mean, I enjoy, smoking and the culture. I think there's a lot of good people out there, and like some of these people have actually really been helping me with this, and so like you know that's kind of the cool part I think is because like I do like of course you're gonna get some haters, and you kind of expect those haters to be out there, but
Yeah, it's just part of being an influencer.
there's a lot of people that are helping me, like they talk to her about me and say nice things for me and show some respect, and they're really nice and thoughtful about it. And then of course there's going to be the people that become haters or try to get a piece of the fame and action, and so that's that's just it is what it is. So I think if I just keep putting a lot of good vibes, love, and positivity out there, that hopefully that'll weed out the negative vibes, and people will start uh, you know picking up on the positivity again, because there's a lot of stuff going on out there right now, and I'm just trying to do my best to make a positive thing out of it.
That's all you can do is just do your best to be your best for you, and hopefully it spreads off to other people around you and those who follow you.
Yeah.
I had a question, like a business question. Would you possibly be interested in doing some sort of collaboration giveaway with me? And honestly, all I could offer to give away would be a shirt. If you would even just match me on a shirt giveaway or something, would you be interested in that?
Yeah, that would be cool. I'd be interested in that. We might even be able to find some sponsors um, for the giveaway and try to
Get some
arrange
other
that,
people in
because
on it too. Yeah.
yeah, because I've got some people who might be interested, and yeah, I would love to give away a shirt or something. That would be fun.
Heck yeah. All right, we can figure that out later on. I just wanted to, you know,
Yeah,
give a little
yeah, I'd love to
teaser
do
for
that kind
the
of stuff.
fans who listen to this. All right, well, I'll go ahead and do my closing real quick. Excuse me. Uh, First of all, I want to give you a special thanks. I really appreciate you coming on the show, especially after, how we ended up talking. Um, I've been following you for a long time, and it's kind of like just some personal satisfaction out of this interview. And I'm really hoping that we can maybe get into some more giveaways in the future, like we just talked about. And perhaps if you ever make any more like really cool pieces you want to talk about, let me know, and maybe we can do a little episode about that too. Um, I
Yeah,
want I did want to go ahead and give a shout out to, I don't have a sponsor this week, so my shout out's just to my first original sponsor from 2019, Joel at Rapid Stacks. Thank you so much for your initial support, and I'm really proud of you guys for coming into the U.S. market with that patent. Congratulations to you and your whole team. That being said, I don't really have too much else on the agenda for us this week, but we are trying to do this giveaway now, so keep an eye out for that. You can check us out at driftsgardens.com, and there's links to all of our social media platforms on there. Alright, guys, have a great day.